In a combat royale on the night of a red moon, a group of individuals use weapons made from their blood to ruthlessly murder one another. The two that are still alive, Chihiro Kamina and Yuri Shiraki, lament that they cannot escape fate as they kill one another. Chihiro defeats his boyhood friend Kotetsu Miji in a kendo sparring battle in the present. As the two are students at Jokei University, Yuri produces a unique sound that sends shockwaves through Tokyo and causes a mysterious crimson mist to spread across the entire city. In a strange dream, Chihiro converses with a female wearing a mask by the name of Dux. She claims that many more heroic moments will follow this one. Inuki Akaya and Kaum Sakiyama, members of the medical staff, inform Chihiro when he awakens at the campus hospital that 5 months have passed. The incident is now known as the Great Collapse, during which a massive plant has bloomed throughout the city and the red mist is still present. Isshin Kakihara, a freelance journalist, and his assistant Tsubasa Tachikase stop Chihiro and Kotetsu after they leave the hospital because Kakihara has hinted that an incident that happened 13 years ago might have been the reason for the Great Collapse. On his journey home, Chihiro falls asleep, and in his dream, the front of the dojo and Kotetsu's father Reiken Miji are both murdered. When Chihiro and Kotetsu get back to the dojo, they notice that Jun Aoi, who is snapping his fingers, is the source of a similar eerie sound that is resonating. Jun and Yuri show up to watch. Reiken breaks through and obliterates the front of the dojo while transforming into his four-armed troll companion. Reiken's sword nearly cuts Chihiro in half from left shoulder to waist as he hesitates to hurt Reiken. His heroic blood is reawakened by this deadly wound, and when his eyes open, they turn red. Reiken's troll familiar may be quickly dispatched by Chihiro thanks to the spiked blood armament that emerges when his heroic blood congeals. Chihiro is restored to health when Yuri and Jun depart, but he still harbors regret for what he did to Reiken. Chihiro is put to sleep by Eiko Morizono, who was observing from the sidelines. When policewoman Mary Kurokami arrives on the scene after Reiken's troll familiar form has vanished into the red mist, she asks witness Yato Kazama what transpired inside the dojo. However, Yato claims he doesn't remember anything and that he lost consciousness during the attack. Mary then tells Kotetsu and Eiko about a story that many people are turning into the red mist after disappearing. But it's possible that these accounts of people mutating into grotesque animals are urban legends. Later, Eiko reveals to Kotetsu that Jun changed Reiken into a familiar. Eiko counsels Chihiro to take it easy after the last battle because he expended a lot of energy. The following day, Chihiro, Kotetsu, and Eiko return to Jokei University. A student who is experiencing a seizure is tranquilized by Inuki and Kaum when they arrive so they can transport him to the campus hospital. Eiko explains to Chihiro and Kotetsu that if a portal to another dimension had opened, the student might have transformed into a familiar. Chihiro hears the resonant sound of Yuri striking a stick with 2 bells as he exits the lavatory, and it hurts him. In the meantime, a college employee is confronted by Kakihara and Tsubasa over college donations and the AVAL Scientific Foundation. Chihiro is drawn into a classroom by Yuri along with 3 other students, one of whom is his friend Ikuro Wari. As soon as Yuri rings her bells, all of the kids start to change into familiars. According to Jun, they have the authority to put the heroic lineage to death. The other pupils, with the exception of Iker, fully transform when Kotetsu and Eiko discover Chihiro there. But Kotetsu is severely shaken by the ringing sound and falls to his knees. Kotetsu wakes his heroic blood and seeks vengeance on Jun as Eiko begs a reluctant Chihiro to do the same. As Kotetsu is defeated by a winged Diabolos familiar, Chihiro cries out in fear instead of releasing his heroic blood. While Chihiro kills the Diabolos familiar, Eiko's true elven form Surdid tends to a distraught Kotetsu after Chihiro summons his heroic blood and calls forth Surdid. Photographing the altercation, Kakihara and Tsubasa proclaim that they have a major scoop. Chihiro becomes incensed and loses control as Jun and Yuri arrive with 2 additional Diabolos familiars. Chihiro's energy hurts Tsubasa, and she starts to change physically. As Sho Hanashima shows up, he instructs Kakihara to awaken his heroic blood. Ero, who Tsubasa summons in his true harpy form, decimates one of the Diabolos familiars while Chihiro eliminates the other. When Yuri steps in to stop Chihiro from attacking Jun, Chihiro is jolted out of his rage. Chihiro is returned to normal by Sho after Yuri and Jun have left. Sho brings Kakihara, Kotetsu, and Chihiro to the Malthus Church and explains that it is the base of operations for the heroic lineage who battle chaos. They are informed by Dux, the head of the heroic lineage, that the world will end and a new one will start in 40 years. But depending on which side wins, it will be dominated by either hope or despair. In order to stop the heroic lineage from annihilating the planet, Chaos utilized Tokyo as a hunting ground, as Sho reveals, and this is what triggered the Great Collapse. The vessels of heroic blood are informed by Dux that burning Tokyo will close the portal and stop new familiars from arriving. Surdid and Ero transform back into people at the campus hospital, while Iker is unconscious in his partially familiar shape. All people, according to Inuki, possess the Arcana gene, just like beings from other worlds, which has caused gates to open and creatures to pass through them. Dux appears to Chihiro and tells him it is all his fault. Even with blood on his hands, the only way he can find salvation is if he can stop the world from falling into hopelessness and win against chaos. Chihiro manages to destroy 2 covered barriers in Tokyo by using his superior strength to liberate energy. Soon later, at the Malthus Church, Sho warns Chihiro, Kotetsu, Inuki, and Kaum that if the barriers are removed, the gates won't be able to open. Chihiro, Kotetsu, Kaum, and Surdid come into contact with Yuri and Jun before attempting to destroy another barrier while an ailing Inuki stays behind. Sabaki Manazuru, a vessel seeking for the boss, is confronted by Kotetsu. The barrier Chihiro removes beneath Yuri and himself allows them to enter a dream realm. Due of Chihiro's removal from the world, Surdid collapses from paralysis. Chihiro and Yuri debate their contrasting opinions on the barriers since removing them would prevent the familiars from entering while keeping them in place would either transform people into familiars or cause them to disappear into the crimson mist. In order for them to change the world together, Yuri suggests that they team up with Chihiro. She agrees to show him how to leave the dream world once he discovers she is the only one who knows how to do so. As Kaum overpowers Jun, Haru Minakami, another vessel and a friend of Chihiro and Kotetsu's who is affiliated with Jun and his Blue Skulls biker club, stops him. They come to the realization that neither Tsubaki nor her doll-like Densuke are chaos agents as Kotetsu continues to battle them. Yuri uses his might under control to assist Chihiro in leaving the dream realm. Chihiro remembers spending time with Yuri as a child. Yuri says it was all his mother's fault before leaving. After Chihiro steps in to stop Haru from attacking Kaum, Jun and Haru decide to depart with Yuri. Tsubaki is a member of the Guardian State, a long-standing group that has been defending Japan before the nation was ever created, according to Sho of the Malthus Church. Sho informs the vessels of heroic blood that their top goal is destroying Tokyo, despite the fact that they think a spy was involved in planning the ambush. A distraught Chihiro confides in Inuki and strives to recall his mother from his youth. Mitsuki Kamina, Chihiro's mother, allegedly set off an explosion at the AVAL Science Foundation research facility 13 years prior, according to Kakihara. The research's purpose was never made public, and Mitsuki vanished. Kakihara claims that Chihiro killed his parents and then stabbed his father to remind him of what he had done to his mother. Chihiro and Kotetsu are stopped by Kurokami and Tsubaki, confirmed Guardian State members after visiting the campus hospital. Kotetsu agrees to join Kurokami and Tsubaki in their suspicion that Jun is responsible for a succession of gruesome murders. After returning to his looted office, Kakehara asks Kurokami for help in finding Jun and getting to know Ero. Chihiro is told by Inuki when visiting Ikur that they can save everyone, even though doing so will only lead to misery by saving some people while killing others. Later that evening, as Inuki appears to crash through a window because he is unable to finish his study to treat Ikur, Kilm observes the laboratory in ruins. Seeing a recent female victim after hearing a scream, Tsubaki is assaulted by a red-haired werewolf familiar and is rescued by Kotetsu. Inuki screams in fear as the werewolf familiar flees and changes back, exposing himself to be him. During their quest for Jun, all that Tsubaki and Kotetsu observed was a female victim and a werewolf familiar. A couple Blue Skulls members are killed by Inuki while acting as the werewolf familiar. Kaum claims that Inuki has just stepped outside and does not let Chihiro know the state of the lab at this time. The Blue Skulls discover Inuki in human form as Chihiro searches the streets for him. The Blue Skulls encircle Chihiro when he arrives, allowing Inuki to dive into the bay to escape being spotted before changing back into a human once more. After discovering that Inuki and Jun were both reared in an orphanage called Hikarian that was under the authority of the AVAL Scientific Foundation, Kakehara reveals that Inuki is the traitor back at the Malthus Church. The children of Hikarian would perish if the barrier within Hikarian were to be destroyed. Kume later informs Chihiro. The vessels of heroic blood were actually labeled as failures and dumped at Hikarian, an institution utilized for experimental teaching. Inuki, though, is still experiencing side effects from the treatments. Chihiro observes Yuri watering her rosemary garden while he is at Hikarian. He sits next to her on a seat and inquires about her past. Jun pardons Inuki for killing his companions while standing on a bridge. Inuki is begged by Jun to come back to the AVAL Scientific Foundation, but he declines. When Inuki begins to lapse, Jun gets ready to murder him but is stopped by Chihiro. Inuki fully assumes his werewolf form by merging it with his heroic blood, giving him stronger claws and blood weapons. Jun observes as Chihiro loses control again while fighting Inuki. Inuki absorbs Chihiro's power after regaining some of his self-control in order to control him. Inuki assures Chihiro that his overpower can be controlled and urges him not to give in to despair before dying from absorbing too much overpower. Dux informs Shiko that the body of heroic blood transforms into red stones, also known as blood crystals, while Chihiro offers Kaum a red stone. The heroic blood are under the influence of Chaos, who forces them to engage in combat with the intention of wiping each other out. To become the new Lord of Vermilion, just one heroic blood must live.